Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app out there. I'm your host, Rudo, joined as always by AJ Haefele. The Avs drop just their third game in nearly 2 months, at least in regulation, to the St. Louis Blues to a final score of 5-3 when you count the empty netter. We'll talk about a lot of the facets of this game. I don't think the Avs played horribly. I do think they were prone to some major mistakes. I think the defense, we've seen a lot better out of the Avs on the defensive side than what we saw in this game. But in a lot of ways, I do think the Avs were a bit of their own worst enemy in this hockey game. They get off to a 2-0 lead.
Oh, I think that's I don't even think that's debatable that they were their own worst enemy.
Yeah.
I mean,
no argument there.
without literally them scoring on themselves and then putting St. Louis in a 5-on-3.
They win the game, basically.
In the third period,
Yep.
We don't know how this game goes. Maybe St. Louis still wins it in regulation. It doesn't matter. But they served it up on a silver platter. They
for sure.
You literally score on yourself. And then it first to 3 wins, makes it a lot easier to get to 3 when you don't even have to beat a goaltender.
I actually was going to ask this question. Should it really count for a hat trick for O'Reilly? Given that he didn't even really score one of those goals.
The NHL's, I've always thought it was weird how the NHL did that.
Yeah.
Because in soccer,
if someone kicks it in, it's an own goal. Yeah.
Yeah, they count. It's an own goal.
Yep.
And nobody on the other team gets statistical credit for it.
Definitely a little bit weird. Thank you very much for the super chat, Breckton. Appreciate you a ton. Very generous of you and everyone else that has given us super chats over the last couple of days. I do want to get more into that, but let's start with the positives here, go a little bit in chronological order. Cale Makar is, in fact, good at hockey, it turns out. Even when he's trying to score on a wraparound, and for some reason always leaves it short. This time leaving it short was a perfect pass to Gabe Landeskog. When you're hot, you're hot, I guess.
Yeah.
That was
I did like that, it looked like there were
intentional.
People, there were people I was like, he needs to work on that wraparound because this is twice now he's failed that curl.
Yep.
And it looked identical. He had it, he had him beat, he had the goalie beat, it would have easily been a wraparound goal. And instead it was a pass out front, but Landeskog was just right there. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just bang this into the empty net.
Pretty easy one for him, for sure. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. The broken wraparound results in a goal anyway.
Yeah, it's easy to be like, oh, he meant to do that. But
totally.
We just saw him, what was it, last game, 2 games ago? I don't remember when it was, but he had the same wraparound and it fired the thing across the crease. Yep. The difference was Landeskog wasn't standing there. They were identical.
Well, he had a second.
Landeskog was the difference.
He had a second wraparound in that game where he was I'm making sure I get far enough out on this one, and gave the goalie time to get across because he took that extra step.
Yeah, like the girl, like he's got to just practice it a little bit.
Get the tuck in there, yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise, like it was awesome. Landy's laughing about it all the way to the bank.
Yep.
Okay, that's as free as free gets.
You really want me to hit 20 goals again this year, I guess, huh, Kale?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, look, that's where all of the Avs offense came from in this game. 3 points from Kale, 3 points from McKinnon. And then I think Burakovsky had 2 points as well. So the power play unit / top line is what got the job done for the Avs offensively in this hockey game. Now, there was a little bit of anti-puck luck as well, as I think the Avs hit three or four posts, depending on who you talk to.
Let's be honest here. Like, the Blues won the good fortune battle today.
For sure. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
In their way.
Yeah.
They hit the one post early on where Sammy Blais beat Dubnyk cleanly.
Yep. Smoked
it off the post. That was about it. That was about the end of their bad luck.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at the we're going to count things that benefited the Blues that were out of their control. The first thing is that Robert Bortuzzo penalty should have been a 4-minute high-sticking penalty.
Yep.
100%. And instead, it was just
bafflingly
like roughing or something. Like, I think it was a roughing call.
It was officially called roughing.
Yeah, a roughing call.
And there was still blatant blood on Landeskog's face. Like,
it should have been a 4-minute penalty.
Yep.
So right off the hop, got a good break on that one. Got a bad break because the Avs scored twice immediately. But they should have been on. They should have been on a 5-on-3, and then when the Avs scored immediately on it, it should have been. They should have continued on the power play for like half the freaking period at that point. It was an absurd decision. Like, I don't know how you call that roughing. It was clearly high sticking. What did he cut his own freaking nose, punching himself in the face? Like, what the And then their first goal is literally an own goal. Devontae just shoots it into his own net.
Directly into his own net.
Shoots it into his own net. It was like, like most own goals in hockey are like funny bounces.
It
like it
goes off a skate or whatever, yeah.
And it's just, it's like
that one's like Devon literally shoveling it into his own net.
Shot into his own net. Like, it was like, oops. And you're just like, oh, well, okay. And then their third goal is that puck hits like 4 of the guys on the ice.
Yeah.
Bounces all over the place, bounces off multiple players, lands right on Barbashev's stick, who happens to be on the back door where Dubnyk isn't. Like, it's just good fortune. That's not bad defense. Like, their defensive problems on that play happened long before goofy puck bounces led to that. It was like, okay, this entire first period, St. Louis has gotten comically lucky. I mean, hell, it's a little bit different because it's not the same as like puck luck, but like they get lucky that Devin Dubnyk just starts to vacate the net on O'Reilly's second goal, on the backhand goal.
Yep.
If he squares that up and he commits to the shooter and stops cheating on the pass, he probably stops that.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't a particularly special backhand. It was just that Dubnyk was just like, let me
for a little adventure. Yeah.
Like, exactly. It was adventure time, and you're just like, bro, like, where are you going? So it was like, look, the Avs have lost. Coming into today, they've lost 1 regulation game since March 1st. They
lost 2 since March 1st.
I am not going to sit yet now.
No. This was the 3rd.
No, since March 1st?
Since March 1st. The Arizona 3-2 game was March 8th.
Oh.
And then they have the 8-3 blowout loss to Minnesota at the end of the streak.
Yeah, that one I remember. Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I literally looked it up before the show. 3 blowout loss to Minnesota.
Okay. All right, whatever. Point is, I'm not getting too upset about any of this.
No, definitely not. There's no
win or lose. Like, if they had won today, they found a way to come back and win. You're just like, okay, cool. Them losing today, it's a bummer. Vegas plays tonight. They're still going to have 2 games in hand. They might have a 4-point deficit instead of a 2-point deficit. I don't know, but they're also going to have a 4-point game coming up against Vegas.
Yep.
So they're going to have their opportunities here.
Right.
Right.
It's not. There's no. You're not even remotely close to panicking or anything like that. It's their second loss in a month and a half. Like, there's no need to worry about it. But I will say, and I think AJ might disagree with me on this one, but I do think, particularly at the end of the first period, the Avs defense was messy. The puck management was it was bad. For one of the few games this year where the Avs puck management defensively was downright bad to me. And you go look at all 3 of St. Louis's first goals. You can go back 10, 15 seconds and you'll find a bad Avalanche turnover. I think one of them was in the neutral zone, but the other 2 definitely in the defensive zone. And credit to St. Louis. They jumped on those opportunities and made Avs pay for the mistakes. So, you know what? Tip your cap to that. But I think the Avs defense is better than that on most nights.
Okay.
Nothing to say on it.
I mean, I think you're wrong.
Why? Give me something.
I mean, I think I would agree with you that their puck management in the first period was atrocious.
Okay.
They were all over the place, man. They were so terrible. But after the first period, they cleaned it up and they dominated that game. Like,
they dominated the second period.
Sorry,
I would agree with that.
At even strength, the third period was dead even. Like,
yeah.
But that I will agree. I will agree. The third period, they absolutely trashed the second period.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
And their suppression, like, they just didn't give in terms of the quality that they gave up. They gave up 3 high danger chances in this game. Okay, so all of you guys that want to say that I'm out to lunch or whatever, you're about to get dated. They gave up 12 scoring chances in the entire game at 5v5. All right. 3 high danger chances. But 3 high danger chances is probably the lowest number they've given up all season. That's a super low number. 12 scoring chances, also a super low number. They only gave up, at 5v5, they only gave up 23 shots. Now, they only had 23 shots, so it wasn't like this was super tilted. But they, in terms of the suppression, in terms of the kind of the kind of limiting of the quality that you want to see, like the Avs really, their defense wasn't their biggest problem. Their biggest problem defensively was the last line of defense was Devin Dubnyk, who played like shit today. Yeah, and look, Devin Dubnyk has had 2 perfectly acceptable appearances, and now he's at a stinker. If that's how it's going to be, if he's going to win 2 and then lose 1 until Grubauer comes back, great. Like, that's all good and well. Like, the fact that St. Louis scored because Devin Dubnyk wasn't any good today, I just don't. I mean, hey, that happens sometimes. There have been plenty of games during this entire stretch where the Avs scored on not particularly special plays or shots either.
Yep,
this stuff happens. So, if you don't care about fancy stats, then you don't care about information. All right, if you don't care about information, you're only allowing yourself to view the game through a very specific lens, and it's an incorrect and uninformed take. If you blatantly ignore empirical data, then your opinion is not correct about anything. You just can't. If all you're doing is, oh my God, all I know is that I saw bad defense, but then you go to the end of the game and you look at all of the data and you look at all of the information that they tell you, and it's like, oh, well, I'm gonna trust my eyes over all of this. I'm going to completely ignore information.
Here's the thing.
You're just an unreliable messenger of data at that point.
I don't fully disagree with you on the data backing things up, but what I will say, and admittedly, this gets into a little bit of In WoW, they call it Feely Craft, so Feely hockey, I guess. But you look at the low metrics, and that feels great. But at the same time, I know that the metrics say they only give up 3 high danger chances, but when you look at some of the opportunities that the Avs give them, they feel extremely dangerous, extremely prone, whether it be Ryan O'Reilly wide open in front of the net. Yeah, sure, Dubnyk maybe should have saved that, but some massive issues had to happen on that play. On the puck that pinballed around the front of the Avs net, there's 3 Blues there and 1 Av. Massive issues happen on that play. On what ended up being the game-winning goal, you take a 5-on-3.
Look, on the third goal, though, you're saying there's 3 Avs there. If that puck does not bounce perfectly for him,
there's 100%.
The Avs are in a perfectly acceptable defensive position to stop that. If the puck does not land on Ivan Barbashev's stick with 3 guys around him, this isn't like a dude.
It wasn't unlucky as well, because it was.
This isn't like a dude that outworked 3 guys to get a rebound and then puts it back in. This is a dude who was standing still, watched the puck drop on his stick, and then he throws it into the net.
If we're going there, let's go to the root source of this. Those were awful rebounds. Dubnyk could have easily smothered that puck on either of the first 2 attempts. But
yeah, first of all, a coach is never happy about anything. So if that's your measure for anything, a coach is never happy about anything.
Unless you won the game 30 shots to none. The coach is not going to be happy.
I would, my opinion today, the first period was a mess. The first period, it was a weird and wild and chaotic mess, and it wasn't why they lost.
No, I agree with you on the second period. I thought the Avs completely crushed, and then the reason they lost this game is because they took 2 horrible penalties late in the third period. I think it's really that simple.
So the Graves penalty, I have no issues with.
No,
for the record, I have no. That's if that stuff happens to Colorado and doesn't get called, I'm apoplectic.
We can get into this conversation.
It's tripping, but that Kadri thing.
I know there's no penalty there. I know, but
bro, that's not a penalty.
I agree.
That wasn't the penalty when I was 9 learning how to play hockey. Okay, what the F, dude?
And
what are they seeing there? I get that it's Kadri, and that there's a reputation.
They saw Nazem Kadri's number. That's exactly what it is.
But I don't know how that's a penalty. I just there's they're bad. There's bad calls. And then there's phantom calls. There's soft calls. People were upset about the Liam O'Brien thing, and it's he clearly holds him.
Yeah, that was wraps his arm around a penalty.
Him.
There's
he
no doubt
turns the guy in open ice as they're going for the puck. There are some calls that get missed because look where the 2 officials are, and there's a lot of chaos, and there's a lot of stuff happening, and blah 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 blah. This is an open ice as the 2 guys who are closest to the puck are racing for it, and he just wraps his arm around him and he turns his body. Every official on planet Earth would have called that penalty. It was a penalty. It was easily a penalty. It was blatantly a penalty. It wasn't particularly egregious. It's not oh my God. But it was a penalty. The Graves one, that's an obvious penalty. Does the guy dive a little bit? Is it one of those he maybe feels a stick on his skate and he's oh God, time to go down. Maybe.
Honestly, man, I don't think he even dove. I looked back at it and he just steps on the stick.
It looked straight up like trip.
Yeah, it was a pretty clear trip.
But that Kadri shit is nonsense.
I hear you. I do hear you. It probably shouldn't have been a penalty on the Avs, but I will say 2 things. One, you just can't take that penalty in that game if you're Ryan Graves. You just can't do it. You cannot totally put your Avs there.
Especially with 30 seconds left.
Yeah.
They have killed the majority of it. And you're not you're behind your net. That guy is not in a dangerous position. He is looking to cycle the puck. He's moving that along the wall. He's not trying to do anything special. This isn't a desperation play where you're stopping what you think might be a goal. It's a lazy, undisciplined, stupid penalty behind your own net. 30 seconds, you're almost out of danger.
Yep.
You've almost survived. And then you give them the stoppage. They smartly take the timeout to keep their best guys out there. They win a face-off, and
it's over,
literally the only thing that Mike Hoffman is good for in the NHL anymore at this point is that one-timer. That one-timer on the power play. That is it. That is the only reason he's in the NHL anymore. And that's it. Like, it's that simple. You go through an entire game. You played through, what was it, 52, 53 minutes worth of hockey, and you do something stupid like that just the one time, and you're good. And again, not a particularly special shot.
Nope.
That wasn't
through Dubnyk.
Yeah, it's like, how is that open? Like, why are you so aggressively mediocre?
The other thing I will say is, and we say this every time when it comes to talking about bad calls, but it's not like there was any bias against the Avs. We saw an impressively weak call to gave the Avs the power play on the goal they tied the game on, where McKinnon's pants get slashed a little bit.
Oh my gosh, where he came in on the open look. Look, so we can say that. Well, no, because they were calling the penalty and the guy knew it when he fired the puck over the glass.
Yep, right. That's why the puck over the glass is irrelevant, because he knew the second he touched it, it was dead. Yeah.
So, yes, that was also. I mean, that is the classic optics call, because, and I talked about this on Twitter during the game, they always call that in that situation. They're always looking to call that penalty when a guy starts reaching.
Yep.
But it's just like, they always call it, which is why I don't think it was any kind of a makeup call. A lot of people were like,
I don't think it was a makeup call either. But
I don't think. But first of all, I question the general existence of those.
Yep.
I think it only happens in extreme situations where the referees know they screwed something up. You can't say that the referees know they screwed something up with not calling Jost on when he got tripped by Bortuzzo's body, because we regularly see that not get called.
It's a penalty by the rule book, but right, refs just don't call it except for when they randomly do. Yeah, that one time. Yeah, and Anaheim's fan base melted down. Yep. But yeah, it was like that slasher. The slash, I think it was called a slash on McKinnon. It was non-existent. Yeah, agreed. And they got a power play off of it, and then the Avs got a little bit lucky there too, because that puck bounced off of somebody's ass. Yeah, it went off. It went it caught Bortuzzo's jersey. Yeah, ripped a hole in that thing. So, yeah, definitely. This is the combination of a loss, right? You make some major mistakes, the other team capitalizes on it. Yeah. You get some bad bounces, and all of a sudden you lose a close game. Couple of self-inflicted wounds. Yep. Couple of capitalizing on chances on some mistakes. Yep. And you just don't have enough. They scored 3 goals in this game. Yep. It wasn't like they were really dying for offense here. They didn't just run away with it or anything either. Yeah. They had 27 scoring chances and 13 high danger chances. 13 is a lot of high danger chances, by the way. At 5v5 in a game. For context, that's a lot of them. And 27 scoring chances is right around where Colorado typically usually falls. Yep. Yeah. 12 is a really low number for them to have given it up. So it's not a particularly bad loss. It's not embarrassing. It's whatever. This is the kind of loss that you expect when you have Devan Dubnyk in net. You make a couple of mistakes. You literally score into your own net on one of them, and then he gives up a couple of softies, and you're just like, okay, well, if Johansson was in net, this would have been and the same thing had happened. You're just like, okay. The goaltending wasn't very good today. This is not translatable to the postseason because that guy won't be in net. Yep. Which is why I'm not too concerned. I'm not too concerned about any of the defense. I'd be way more concerned about the defensive issues had they continued throughout, but they didn't. The defense was really bad in the first period. It got cleaned up. It was depending on who was out there. It was a little imperfect. Yeah. Devon Taves has kind of quietly come back to earth a little bit. Is it even that quietly? I think so, because he's not making He's not making major mistakes, but
he's not making egregious mistakes, but he's not dominating anymore. To be honest, the only reason that we're talking about Ryan Graves even a little bit today is because of the penalty.
Yeah, he was perfectly fine before that. Yeah.
Up until then, I had not seen a single person mention Ryan Graves all game long except for when Comfort did not hit him on the back door on that one little break that they had.
Comfort decided.
Otherwise, nobody had mentioned Ryan Graves' name until that penalty, and now it's like Ryan Graves played like shit.
No, he was.
I thought Ryan Graves was passable. He's like, like Ryan Graves is just waiting for Bowen Byram to take his job. To be honest with you, like that's
a lot what it feels like. To be honest,
and like Patrick Nemeth has rolled in, and it's like this is the same Patrick Nemeth that we know.
Yep,
some really awful turnovers. Like really awful turnovers.
Well, no, I do think he's been worse than the Patrick Nemeth we know in these last couple of games because I've seen him get caught multiple times, and we know he's not a great skater. But also, I'm not worried about that at all because in a week he'll have a much better grasp on how the Avs defense likes to rotate, and it'll be fine. He'll settle into his defensive role, and it's whatever. You live with the turnovers. You knew you were getting that when you traded for him.
And for him, just a shade under 15 minutes at even strength is right. Like if
that's about as low as it's going to go. Yeah,
that's probably a touch low because Graves is probably. You see Graves' time on ice in this game? Yeah, I hadn't actually looked at it until just now.
But at 5-on-5.
12 minutes at 5-on-5, and like, okay, we're starting to lean a little too heavily again on the top guys, but also power play time. Like Makar, geez, man, this was another game. Last game felt like it was all power play stuff, and I guess I hadn't actually looked at because of the 5-on-3s. They stacked up, so it didn't feel like as much power play time. But 9 power plays between the two teams.
They spaced them out, right? Like. There were 2 power plays at the start of the game for the 5-on-3, then nothing until past the midpoint, and then two penalties, one on each team, get stacked, and then nothing until the middle of the second period. And so they just came in like bunches, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. And outside of the Avs putting themselves in a terrible position of the 5-on-3 late in the game, the PK looked better tonight. Or today, even.
I thought so too. I thought that it was a lot more aggressive in denying the initial setup because when teams get set up, there's not really a difference in any of the 31 NHL teams.
They sit in their box and hope for the best. Mostly,
exactly. Yeah. Like, block a couple shots. If the puck bounces your way, you clear that shit out and you go.
Yeah.
But it's really about denying the initial setups. That's where the good PKs separate themselves, and I thought they did a better job of that today.
Yep.
If you look at the PKs, the Avs gave up 5 shot attempts, 5 scoring chances, and 2 high danger chances. So,
not terrible.
In 8 minutes, like
that includes the 5-on-3.
So. It does. Well, the 5-on-3 lasted 9 seconds, so it's not really a whole lot of time there.
Sure, that's fair. That's 1 high danger chance though, of the 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's fine. Those numbers actually don't bother me at all.
You live with that for sure.
So, on the other side, if you look at how Colorado did, and you factor in that their last power play was a total waste of time.
Yeah, that last power was awful.
And I think that's problematic. Like the differences between the variance between power plays.
Yep.
They're not rolled like percentage wise and actual results wise. Like they scored 2 power play goals in this game.
You live with the results all day, but
but when you have a power play in the last 4, like you have to at least be dangerous, dude.
They came down 3 times and did the one thing that's like the cardinal sin on a power play, where you walk in, you fire a shot that you miss 5 feet wide and it rims out of the zone. Yeah. It's the one thing you can't do.
Well, and like you're rolling I understand he's right-handed and that there isn't another right-handed option that you trust.
Yeah, that JT Compher is the trigger man. Just when you have Nathan MacKinnon, Andre Burakovsky, and Cale Makar out there.
And like Landeskog and like
Landy too. Sure.
The only other right-handed guy in your lineup at that point is Martin Kaut. And at this point, it's like, why not? JT Compher's done nothing for that unit. Literally, the only reason that he's out there is that he's right-handed.
Is it
if
really?
Martin Kaut also has that same attribute, why not see what happens?
Is it really that hard to just put a lefty in the bumper and flip it so you're making that play on the other side of the ice?
Well, the way that they're defending is that they're shading everything towards MacKinnon, and that's why that bumper play. That's why that play is open, is because the coverage. So. I can't X's and O's this.
No, I understand.
So MacKinnon is over here. Okay, where's my webcam? MacKinnon is over here. The defense is shaded over here. Okay, when they rotate the puck around, Compher is right here in the center of the ice. Compher is open because the defense is hanging out over here. That's why it works.
I understand
why
it
is
works.
Right-handed. If he's left-handed, they have to flip it.
There is no magic serum. Nathan MacKinnon isn't cemented to that spot on the power play. We see him regularly curl up to the blue line and walk around wherever he wants. So you can find ways to shade that defense away from the other side if you want to put a lefty in the middle. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But
I just don't think there's a good answer. Like, which lefty do you want to put there? Tyson Jost, Val Nichushkin?
I mean, if you're gonna
put Brandon Saad there,
if you want to legitimately use that guy as a trigger man, I grab Andre Burakovsky by the head. I tell him every time someone throws you a puck, you shoot it or I'm benching you, and I'd put him there.
Yeah, his one-timer though has only ever been like him settling the puck and firing wristers is where he's special, which he can do when he's on that outside. If he's in the middle and he's in that bumper position, you want a guy that's just going to fire it. That's why Kadri was theoretically the perfect guy.
This is where that conversation is headed.
Yeah,
for sure.
Nazem, the answer is Nazem Kadri,
but
when Nazem Kadri is not a black hole,
exactly,
of misery, just. You see, Nichushkin's he doesn't shoot. Look at all of his goals.
They're from 2 feet away from the net.
Yeah. Nichushkin is perfect on the power play in the Landeskog role, where he takes that big old butt of his and he puts it in the goalie's face. He tries to tip pucks, and then he goes and he wins battles along the wall. Like that's what he does. Don't do it with Nichushkin, and I wouldn't do it with Jost because, as we're learning, Tyson Jost he just can't beat goaltenders.
I think there might be a conversation about doing it with Landy. He's got a decent kind of half clapper on the one time.
If you put the answer is Alex Newhook. I like that.
Okay, don't even take it there.
I would say only because that's the only that's
where he scored from in the AHL.
Yeah. Of course, where he's been great has been the Burakovsky spot, where he's just bombs away, baby. But I just think right now, there's just not a good answer to it, and so I'm just like, why not Martin Kaut?
I mean, my long-term answer is I don't like the bumper position at all. I'd rather run a guy down low and Landy in front, but
I think they've actually, as the years gone on, honestly, I think they've gotten really good at utilizing it because they don't do it all the time, but they do it enough that PKs have to keep it honest. And in last year's bumper position, at the start of the year, it was this is lethal, this is nasty.
And then it was just worthless.
Holy crap! Yeah. And then it disappeared. Yeah. It was just straight gone.
And
that hasn't happened this year so far.
I mean, and to your point, you're kind of picking nits at the moment, right? The Avs have the 7th best power play in the league, so it's not this is a problem.
Is it still 7th after they scored 2?
I don't know if that's updated or not. It might be up to 5th when you include tonight, but either way, it's not a problem to say the least. Do we want to tackle the rest of this Kadri conversation? Is probably the most talked about thing tonight.
Yeah, we definitely should talk about him, man, because he's been bad. 14 games without a goal, depending on, hey, do you play well? Do you play poorly? Like, how does the sausage get made? Obviously, that's problematic. But his play's getting worse.
Yeah.
Because at the start of the streak, he was hot. He was around the puck all the time.
It just wasn't going in for him.
It just wasn't going in for him. He was beating goaltenders. He was hitting posts. He was putting 3-4 shots on goal every single game. Like, there was a lot there. I think today he had 5 shots on goal today. But do you remember any of them?
Well, he had the one that was a wide open net that he fired right back into Binnington's pad. I remember that one.
So I just don't. I think he's been super selfish with the puck.
Agreed.
And I think that now him playing next to Soderberg and Comfer is not going to help that.
Nope.
Also, I don't know what to do about that because I think the top Burakovsky in Rantanen spot has been perfectly fine. And that like Saad, Jost, Nichushkin combination has been
dude, Saad and Jost together has been mwah.
Well, and it's like, okay, what's the Donskoy was great there too. Yep. What's the constant here? And what's the variable? Because the constant has been Nuke and Jost.
Yep.
And those dudes, they are wild together, man. Like they are so interesting.
Yo,
every paper, none of us were like hankering for this third line, but you've watched them over the last month, and it's just like
you're sitting there, and the opposing team circles back into their own zone, and then you see it's either Jost or Nichushkin who's stepping up on the forecheck, and you're like, oh boy, here we go. There's a good chance this is about to be a turnover.
Well, and it's like an open invitation for the other guy to get involved too.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know. They're like the Battletoads. Maybe they're like more like Double Dragon, where they're just like they just like roll in and they just create havoc.
Yeah.
One guy does some silliness, and then the second guy's like, "Oh, my turn," and then the second guy jumps in, and it's just like, what do you mean they don't really produce? What the fuck are you talking about? Jost just had a 5-game point streak ended today.
Yep.
Like
it's something like 10 points in his last 15 games too.
Yeah. Like that line has consistently been rolling. And yes, that's exactly what I would do. I would try Donskoy with Kadri, not with Rantanen, but Kadri with Donskoy and Burakovsky.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I would do.
It's the Kadri situation. It's one of those things where, like in basketball, shooters shoot, right? You wait for the 3-point shooter to shoot himself out of a down streak, but you're at 14 games now, and you're like, the dam's got to break at some point. Like,
well, and it's a little different in hockey because like it's funny when people are like, "Oh, he's such a streaky player," and it's like, you know who is a streaky player? 95% of NHLers when it comes to production.
If you're not a streaky player, you're on the first line.
Yeah. Like, you know who's not a streaky player? The guy with a 13-game point streak. Like, that guy's not streaky at all. That guy just kicks ass now. But it's like 14 games is a long time for a guy like that. And today, somebody sent it to me and was like, oh, it was in Discord, and he said it was what's Kadri's point per game in his career, and what's Kadri's point per game this year?
0.64.
Yeah, 0.64. They're right. It's identical. Like Kadri's been kind of a flashpoint for conversation this year because he started off the year so poorly.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. A super poor start, and then he was ungodly hot, and now he's back to being off again. And when you don't look at how it gets made, it's exactly Nazem Kadri.
If you assume that those 3-point nights were 1-point nights, and that instead of 14 scoreless games, he's scoring like every third game or whatever, you just like smooth it out. You have no issues, right? Like there's no conversation about this.
Yep.
But it's been really hot and really cold. So it's just like, okay, well, which guy are you getting now? And I told somebody on Twitter today, I was like, look, he's a guy that he feeds off of the emotion of his game. And right now, there's not a lot of emotion in it.
But frustration right now, yeah.
And when he gets when
monkey off the back is what he needs.
When a good thing happens to him, it's probably not going to be like him with a smoke show of a goal, right?
It's just probably going to be a stupid bouncer that finds its way in. And
it's going to be a puck that like he's firing and goes 2 feet wide and it bounces off the blade of some dude's skate and it like trickles its way in or whatever. And you're just like, okay, well.
And he's just going to go, all right, I guess I'm allowed to score again.
Yeah, it is what it is. Now, all right, he's like, I'm back, baby. And then all of a sudden that confidence is just going to be like a lightning bolt inside of his chest. And he's going to go turbo. And that's just, and then you're going to get that version of Kadri for a while. The thing is that he has to mitigate the lows. And if he's not scoring, you have to manage the lows. You have to manage, you still have to be contributing. You can't get crushed in your underlines every night. And he hasn't been, for the record.
Yeah.
He hasn't been getting crushed in the underlines. Let's see. What did he today? He's on the positive side of things. So everybody's like, oh, he's playing so poorly. He's dragging everybody down. He's an anchor on everybody. And it's like,
it's not really true. Yeah.
Like Soderbergh and Comfer, that's
a
tough
much. Yeah.
It's kind of a tough assignment. They're really playing with 2 third lines right now.
Yeah.
But I think it's with Kadri, like it's coming.
Yeah.
You just the same thing that we said at the beginning of the season. The dude has been so good throughout his entire career that at some point, like he's gonna find his way. He's been too productive.
Of excluding the top line guys, Kadri has the longest leash of all the forwards, right? Because it's there.
Oh, well, him and Brandon Todd.
Yeah, the 2 veteran dudes. Yeah.
Because they've accomplished stuff over a decade of being in the league. You just trust them to eventually work their way out of it because they always have.
Yep.
And so you just don't worry. You're just like, okay, well, this is my world now.
And it's not like,
they'll be okay.
Kadri has not scored a goal in 14 games, and they've lost 2 of those now?
In regulation,
fair.
I don't know. I think there was one of their OTLs in there too.
I think you're right. But point being, it's not like the Avs are dying for Kadri production right now.
Nope. They're not like it'll get there. Honestly, it's bad right now. Like, and it has to get better. Nobody's gonna know that more than him.
Yep.
Like, do you think Jared Bednar has to have like a lengthy conversation with him? No. There might be like if I'm Landy or Nate, I might pull him aside and be like, all right, Naz, like
step
everybody knows you're struggling, but it's time, bud.
Yeah.
Like we all know what's coming, but it needs to happen.
Yep.
Because I will say, and this is a thing I talk about a lot, but it's also a thing that drives me crazy. There hasn't been a lot of urgency in his game.
That is true.
It's getting what concerns me about it is that it's gotten worse, almost like he's accepting his fate. And you don't want to see that because that's where you lose a guy for a season. When he gets so down on himself and he's not buying into his own ability to pull himself out of it.
Yeah.
You want to see that. You want to see him push back a little bit. And
for sure.
That there's so much better. So I think again, it's going to happen, man.
Yeah, I don't think
it'll be totally fine.
Super worried about it. Did want to touch on it. I don't think we'll have much to say, but we didn't talk about it the other day because we got into our feels pod. Second game for Martin Kaut in this stretch. He's existed. He had one nice play tonight.
One nice play that he got a little bit lucky on.
Yeah,
it.
Agreed.
But hey, you know what? He handled the situation that he was given.
Yep.
And did what he could with it. There was some nice decisions. I'd like to see a little more aggression with the puck. Multiple times and look, I will also say it does not help that Liam O'Brien skates into the zone, picks a spot, and decides to stand there.
Yeah.
But Martin Kaut, like skating up the right side, he gets in there, he makes the move around the defenseman, and then he pulls up and he looks around, and it's like, Okay, the problem is that the defense doesn't have that kind of respect for you, or they're just going to give you any kind of space because they don't know what you're going to do to them. So they're going to close on you, and now you've cut off an avenue of where you can go with the puck, and you've limited yourself to I'm going to move it back to the point, and that's not a dangerous play. It's sometimes that's fine, but when you do the same thing and you defend yourself like that, you give yourself just the one option, the defense will happily take that. He's got to do something to make them defend him and make himself, stop defending himself as much. Limited ice.
I will say that's part of his game a lot.
I know that it is because he's looking for line mates and he's looking to create, and he's more of a playmaker, but he needs to play with more confidence with the puck. He needs defense. He needs the defense to believe that he's going to do that. There's the possibility of him doing something else.
And that's for him, it's about puck possession. The reason he likes to circle back is he doesn't want to give the puck up to the other team. And you're exactly right. All he has to do is make that play a couple of times where he doesn't pull up and create something. And maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe he loses the puck a few times, but it's going to give him so much more availability for things if he does it a few times.
He also needs to test the limits. See what you can get away with. See what you can get away with, big shot.
Sure.
Like, put your head down and go into the corner and see if you can, if they back off you and you circle around and you create something, then great. If you go into the corner and they cut you off and they take the puck away from you, all right, well, then maybe next time you don't try that. But, try some stuff, dude.
Yep.
Of course, we're talking about, 2 or 3 puck possessions here, so
he had,
limited opportunity
7 minutes and 39 seconds of ice time in the game, so.
Yeah, I think...
He thinks...
I think he's looked good, but some of that is familiarity with him from the AHL, where I'm just like, yeah, this is
his game,
yeah,
yeah,
and he doesn't really have to. A thing about him is that he does not have to adjust to the moment very much.
Yep.
He doesn't have to adjust his game a whole lot.
You put him into a role, you tell him do this, and he'll go and do it.
Yeah. Just don't make don't make a mistake, right? Don't take an offensive zone penalty.
Don't do a Liam O'Brien.
And he needs look, is Logan O'Connor healthy, bro?
No, he's not.
Because he skated in a regular jersey. He's on the trip.
Allegedly.
He's supposed to play on this trip. Can we do that, please? Because Logan O'Connor, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, and Martin Kaut is a fourth line that
That's a fire line.
I am suddenly intrigued by.
Yeah.
But Liam O'Brien, he's had a couple, I think he has 3 points. So he's had some production, but it's I'm not expecting that shit to repeat itself.
It's just, look, he has 3 points. Credit to him. He got 2 of them in 6.5 minutes in one game. But every time I watch him try to hold the puck for longer than 1 second, I do not enjoy the hockey that I'm watching.
He straight up passed the puck to Justin Falk in this game.
Yep.
He Falk was I think it was Falk that was defending him, and he tries to go wide on him. And instead of making a move or doing anything, it looked like he just tapped the puck forward.
He literally just passed it to him, and you're like, "That's not."
Did you give it to him so you could then turn around and hit him? What's happening here? I think JT Compher's playing fine.
Yeah, I think he's been solid.
I think it's been frustrating, but I think if he didn't make $3.5 million, people wouldn't be obsessing over his play.
His biggest problem in tonight's game is that the Avs decided he's the bumper.
He got the one where he puts it right in the middle of Binnington's body, and you're like, a little more competitive of a shot than that, please. And then he was like, okay, we'll see how it goes next time. I'll really wind it up. And misses the net and runs out of the zone. And you're like, maybe I would take that face off, I guess. don't know. These both feel like bad options. Neither of these options are resulting in a goal, so why are they happening?
Yeah.
But I think my biggest problem with JT today was, and it's a little hindsighty because he hit the post, and I know you didn't count it as a post, but
yeah, I did not.
Bro, you got Ryan Graves right there on the back door, bro.
Yep. Make that pass, and it's a tap in for sure.
Like, what you doing?
Yeah, and again, back to the start of the show. It's those little differences in a close loss.
Shut the Brandon Saad's numbers today are insane.
I believe that.
20 Corsi 4 and 4 against. 8-2 in shots on goal, 13-0 in scoring chances, and 6-0 in high danger chances.
That's because that dude is playing F3 while Jostin Nichushkin are on the forecheck, and every time he looks up, Jostin Nichushkin has the ball. And he's like, "All right, I guess I'll go join on this."
I'm just like looking at the numbers, and I'm like, "Oh my god, dude!" Tyson Jost and Val Nichushkin with dominant numbers yet again. Sam Gerrard. How are you feeling about G right now?
He's fine. It hasn't been the elite thing, and part of it is I think he's finding his limits a little bit against a St. Louis team. I think he's testing how physical he has to be or how physical he can afford to be a little bit as a guy that, look, Gerrard's never going to be particularly physical. Everybody knows that, but there has to be at least a certain element of being able to take the physicality. And I don't think he's quite found that line yet, at least against St. Louis. It's a weird vibe to me. Like there, one play that sticks out to me, I don't remember when it was, but it's just a puck dumped into the Avs zone, and he turns around and tries to like bump a Blues player and run a little bit of interference that the NHL just has decided is legal.
Dude.
And he just gets knocked on his ass on the play and like slides back in towards his own goal line and has to get up. And it's like, all right, so Gerrard's not going to be able to do that. But
yeah, that pairing feels a little odd to me right now.
I agree with that. I think it's both guys.
It feels like their collective level has dropped and their individual level has dropped.
Yep.
Dude, I thought Connor Timmons was good again today.
Dude, it's give and take. I thought he played to his game, and I thought he was pretty darn solid, except for the one shot he got blocked up high.
Yeah. But he recovered. He recovered,
and he did. Yeah, it was fine. Like it ended up being fine.
What I didn't like was he tried to make a stretch pass from the his right blue line through the neutral zone, and it got
cut off. Yeah,
predictably picked off.
Yeah,
it was the right read, but I think it was the wrong kind of pass because he just fired that thing.
Yep.
I think if he puts a little loft under it.
Mustard.
And it's either that or if he goes with the pass it behind the guy off the board and have him skate to it into the zone. That's a really hard pass to make, though, especially through the neutral zone where there's all that traffic. But I thought that was really the only true like decision with the puck where I was like, Getting the shot blocked for me is like, look, he saw an opening and he tried to get it through. And a guy either blocks it or he doesn't, and then how he recovers from it is my biggest concern with him because of the foot speed.
Right.
And he recovered from that one perfectly. And it was just like, okay.
He had at least two other times where he got the shot through too, and those were solid. Like, yeah, that's exactly what you want out of him.
The underlines are good for him for once. Normally they're
bad.
Kind of, normally they're like Liam O'Brien, Martin Kaut today, dead even, right? Where you're just like, I don't really feel strongly about this.
Bad for Colorado, is that? Yeah. Am I allowed to say that?
If you do look at like the season overall, and his Corsi is at like 53%, and you're like, why do people hate on this guy?
But somehow that's like last on the team.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're like, wait, hold on. Dan Renouf's at 55. What's up?
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely I think as we're wrapping up the show here, this is the correct vibe where we're kind of just chilling on this game.
Yeah, like look, you don't. They have to be careful with the whole Minnesota thing because Minnesota's, I think, 3 points back of them now.
Correct.
They're in a dogfight for positioning, but they're in, and like you would love to see them win the President's Trophy so that they have home ice advantage throughout the entire postseason and blah 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 blah. Right?
They do have one game right now, but Minnesota plays tomorrow, so it'll go back to 2 games in hand on them for the
It's just like you're in a fight right now. Like you're rolling and you're playing right now. You're playing against a Blues team that is desperate.
Yep.
So there's a different level there. Their next, and then the big showdown with Vegas on Wednesday.
Yep.
But then after that, they kind of transition into this portion of their schedule where they're playing like San Jose and LA are just kind of
it's
more or less playing out the string. Like they can both talk themselves into maybe we can make the postseason if we get crazy hot.
It ends up being 4 straight against San Jose.
Well, that's the original schedule.
Yeah,
was the 4 straight against San Jose, and then 2 against LA, and then they have the makeup
and then
game.
the final Vegas
and then
game,
LA,
and then
LA
they finish
game.
with the LAs. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
so they really they just need to get through the Monday and Wednesday, and then after that they're home free in terms of like competitive schedule. They go back to being like heavy favorites every night.
Yep.
But it would, selfishly, right? Like you'd like to bury the Blues.
If the Avs can finish this road trip with 2 wins, they're feeling great. Because that would make this a 2-1 stretch against the Blues, and then you have the Vegas game. If you take 4 points out of 4 points in these 2 upcoming games, you're sitting at worst tied for first place.
In a great position.
Yeah. And you have 4 games against San Jose coming up, who's a team that is likely to get eliminated in the middle of that series.
Yeah. San Jose is 2-7-1 in their last 10, so they're trending in the wrong direction here.
Yeah.
LA is 3-7 in their last 10, so they're also trending in the wrong direction here. But again, like the Avs would prefer Arizona than St. Louis for all the reasons that we've seen. Like,
help yourselves by beating that team. Yeah,
the Avs are now 5-2 against the Blues this year. This is their first loss since opening night against these guys.
Yep.
So they're not losing sleep over them, but though all of these games have been significantly more competitive than any of the Arizona games.
Agreed.
To be honest, I might prefer Minnesota over St. Louis.
I quietly agree with you.
Maybe. I don't know.
The thing is, like,
I don't care that much.
The reason I might prefer Minnesota is like we know there's a universe where Jordan Binnington can get hot, and I don't trust Cam Talbot further than I can throw him.
Yeah, and the thing with Kakkonen though is that
he's a total wild card.
Yeah, you just never know. So I don't know, man. I'm not stressing that yet. I'll watch the Vegas game later.
Yep.
I think they're against Anaheim tonight, so that's free.
Yeah, it's nice. We get an early night here a little bit.
Yeah.
You guys can watch my my review video at a reasonable hour of the night instead of posting it at 3 a.m.
Yeah, my post-game piece is mostly written.
There you go.
As soon as Hoffman scored, I started writing it.
You knew, yeah.
Is that the last thing we want to touch on? Why can't Colorado even look competent 6-on-5?
Yeah, it's ugly. It was just weird to me. Like, including even back before the last 4 minutes of this game, even on the Avs power play, it's like they turned their brains off. They just stopped making smart decisions with the hockey puck, and I don't understand why. It was just weird. So
I don't get it.
I don't know.
Landeskog makes the nice play. They get the stoppage. They win the faceoff, and their whole 6-on-5 experience comes down to a weak-ass wrister from Makar that gets blocked.
Yeah.
And then goes the other way. And it's like...
That's of the list of shots you want to tank with an empty net, that's got to be pretty low on the list, right? Like,
yeah. Well, and you also think about how many how many times have they really been in 6-on-5 situations?
Like chat's point here,
they've lost game 6-2, where they briefly pulled the goaltender in one or two of those games. St. Louis and the San Jose and Minnesota 6-2 losses. I think there was an empty net goal in maybe both of them, but it was very brief either way. And they were down multiple goals, so you're just kind of like, you're throwing Hail Mary here. You don't really give a shit if you get scored on. And then
the Arizona game is the only one I can think of. The 3-2 Arizona loss is the only one where they had extended empty net time.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Anaheim loss that they had in overtime was a come from ahead loss.
Yep, they were up 4-2.
And then the 6-2 games.
Yeah, Minnesota put that one away. Or rather, San Jose put that one away early enough, I think.
Yeah, and then the two Vegas games in February, the 1-0 loss after the COVID break, and then the 3-0 home loss. Although the 3-0 one was not. So I mean, we're talking, we're back into February, and we're
3 or 4 times maybe.
They've done it. So, and I'm not saying I want to see them get a lot more practice at it, but you do have to wonder, like, there's a real lack of urgency, a real lack of sense of purpose.
Yep.
They did have the empty nets in the John Gibson game too, where the only shot on goal that they gave up was the empty net goal.
Yep, the one shot. Man, the Ducks are bad.
Yeah, God, right. Please win tonight.
Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice. Man, Mini plays San Jose too.
Not sweating the loss too much today. Disappointing, especially given that they were up 2-0 4 minutes into the game.
Yep.
They did not handle anything that happened after that 2-0. The rest of the first period, they did not handle well. But it's okay. You're gonna have a game where some stuff goes against you. Yeah, and today there was a lot of it that went against them, like some silly things where you're just like, well, this happens.
I think you put it well right before we went live, right? Go look at the majority of that first period and say, look, this is where our mistakes were. And then you get to the second period and you say, play every period like you guys played that second period.
Yeah.
And you're going to beat up pretty much everybody.
Yeah. I mean, most important thing for the rest of the season is just stay healthy.
Yep. Agreed.
You get out of a game healthy, you're fine.
With that, we'll wrap up with that. Byram is still in Colorado. Is he on the ice doing stuff? I know he was doing off-ice work.
Who knows?
Nobody knows, right? Yeah. Nico's still in protocol for contact tracing, as Donskoy still in for positive test. Grubauer is off the list. He'll join the team when he joins the team.
Yeah, don't really know the status of him yet. Hoping to see LOC.
Yep,
Monday.
He's the one who traveled, so
he'd be a perfect fit to replace O'Brien too, and really like a good energy guy that can actually help you out in some areas.
You run. I mean, you're going to just wear teams out if you put Jostin Nichushkin third line and follow that up with an LOC fourth line.
Well, because LOC impacts games and Liam O'Brien doesn't, and LOC at least like gets under some skin.
He makes you work for it.
Yeah, he keeps you honest, and then you throw a little bit of skill next to him with Kaut. Their familiarity from the AHL will certainly help. See. Hopefully we see him back. I mean, skating in a regular jersey and is on the trip. Both of those should be a combination for back in the lineup.
He's got to be close, right?
Especially after the O'Brien penalty at the end of the second period, where you're just like, you just can't do that, bro.
Yep. All right. On that note, we'll get out of here. Good, fun Saturday show. Hope y'all didn't mind the loss too much. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. Thank you for watching, listening, however you consume the podcast. Be sure to check it out in audio format if YouTube's not for you, but we recommend YouTube. It's the best way to catch the show. You can find all of AJ's amazing reaction faces when you're watching on YouTube. But Hope you have a great one. Until Monday, we will talk to you guys later.